First things first, Holons and Holarchy, the magic behind systems. Let's make it crystal clear. So you grab your seat. Holons. They're the individual parts of a system, and Holarchy is how the parts fit into a bigger system. Think of it like an onion. The onion itself is whole, the holon. And when you peel the layers, you're zooming in to see how it fits into the greater vegetable world, the Holarchy. Each layer is part of something bigger. Holons, the individual pieces, like an ant, a tree, or a person. They're their own whole, but also they're just part of a bigger system. The Holarchy is the entire system, the larger network, of which the holon is just one small piece. Your life is a holon. The world is a Holarchy. Think about your life as a holon, your thoughts, actions, and decisions. They all make you who you are. But your life is also part of the larger Holarchy. The people you interact with, the society, the culture, the economy. When you change your perspective and zoom out, you realise your decisions, they don't just affect you, they ripple out to those around you. Zooming in and zooming out. The problem with procrastination. Let's say you're dealing with procrastination. When you zoom in, you're just looking at the part. I'm stuck. I keep putting things off. But if you chunk up, zoom out, you start to see it's not just about the task at hand, it's about motivation, confidence, and how you see yourself in relation to the task. Now you're seeing the procrastination as part of a larger system. How you feel about your abilities, your fears, and the bigger picture of your life goals. And when you see it that way, you open up new ways to attack the problem. Because you're no longer just focused on the small, isolated part. Reframing, changing the game by changing the context. Let's take that powerful tool called reframing and shift how you see things. Imagine you're looking at a scary situation. What if you could instantly change the way you perceive that fear? That's reframing. It's like looking at the same object from a different angle and suddenly realising it's something totally different than you thought. Reframing, it helps you see the world through a new lens. Example, fear of public speaking. If you're afraid of public speaking, you're likely seeing it through a lens of fear and anxiety. What if I mess up? But when you reframe it, you start seeing public speaking as a chance to serve others. It's not about you at all. It's about sharing something valuable. Reframe the fear as excitement or the desire to help. Suddenly, the situation becomes empowering, not paralysing. Failing is feedback. People often see failure as something bad. They shrink, they get small. But when you reframe it, failure is no longer something negative. It becomes feedback. You can now analyse it as part of a learning process. Failure is no longer an obstacle. It's the gateway to growth. You can choose to see it as a lesson, not a setback. Sleight of mouth, the language of persuasion and shifting beliefs. Let's crank things up a notch. With sleight of mouth, a slick, strategic set of language patterns that can shift belief and change minds. The key here is when someone's stuck in a limiting belief, you can move them from that narrow, rigid view into a more expansive, empowering perspective. Example, chunking up. When someone says, I don't have time for this, you chunk up. You ask them to step out of the details into the bigger picture. They say, I don't have time. You say, what does time really mean to you in the grand scheme of your goals? What happens if you don't make time for the things that matter the most to you? You've just moved them from I can't make time to wait, I see time as part of something bigger. Chunking down, drilling into the details. On the other hand, if someone says I want to be rich, but it's just too overwhelming, you can chunk down to make it feel more doable. They say I want to be rich, it's just too much. You say, alright, What's the one thing that you can do today that moves you towards the goal? What's the smallest step you can take to get it started? Instead of a massive, intimidating goal, you just made it simple. An actionable step, suddenly it feels achievable. Redefining beliefs. Here's where the real magic happens. You can redefine someone's belief entirely. Let's say someone has a belief, I'm not good enough. You can redefine it as, I'm in the process of becoming better every day. You haven't just shifted the words, they've shifted the whole meaning. You've taken something fixed and transformed it into something dynamic. Pacing and leading, the subtle dynamic of influence. To master these techniques, you've got to pace and lead people. This is where you meet them, where they are. Understand their current state, and then gently guide them to where they want to go. For example, pacing and leading in action. Let's say someone is stressed out and overwhelmed by their work. They say, there's just so much to do. I'm drowning in it. You pace them. Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot. You've got a lot on your plate right now, and it's overwhelming. Then you lead them. What's one thing that you could do right now to take back some control? What would make this feel easier in this moment? By pacing, you've acknowledged their feelings. By leading, you've empowered them to take action, shifting their state from overwhelmed to empowering. Why this works, the science and the power. You might be wondering. The science is simple. Neuroscience shows when you reframe a belief or a problem, you literally change the neural pathway in your brain. It's like rewiring your brain's response to situations. Instead of running on autopilot, seeing the same old limiting belief, you create new neural connections that support growth, progress, and adaptability. And when you pace and lead, you're syncing your brain with theirs. Your words get in the subconscious, reprogramming their beliefs without them even realizing it. You've given them permission to shift, guiding them to see new perspectives and empowering them to take action in new ways. Overcoming fear and building confidence. Let's tackle that big fear. The fear of looking stupid, of being misunderstood. That's the thing that holds you back from using these tools. But think about it, everyone you meet is already being influenced by TV, by family, by society, by their own limiting beliefs. You're just using the same tools to help them to break free from the limitations. That's not manipulation, that's empowerment. People will respect you for it, because you're doing what others aren't. You're helping them to see and realize their potential. So why is this so important? If you don't use these tools, you're leaving yourself and others stuck, stagnant. Your old patterns, they'll keep you trapped in fear, indecision, and frustration. You'll keep seeing problems instead of opportunities. And when you don't take action, you're denying yourself the chance to grow, to make powerful connections, and to build a life that's limitless. But when you use these tools, you're freeing yourself and everyone around you. You're making them see the world in a completely new way. One that empowers, excites, and leads to action. That's how you create lasting change. So remember, you already have the power. You've been using these techniques your whole life without even knowing it. Now you're just going to do it with intention, consciously and effortlessly.